to the Metro on WDET, Detroit Public Radio. I'm Robin Vincent. Money matters in Michigan politics. If it didn't, there wouldn't be so many dollars flowing into it. Billionaires and dark money political action committees dominated spending in the 2024 election cycle. One dark money political action committee contributed over $6 million towards supporting House Republicans. Now, the phrase dark money is doing a lot of work here. It means that people literally can't follow the money. We can't know where it's coming from. A new coalition wants to change that. Michiganders for Money Out of Politics intends to create a ballot proposal to force state-level dark money advertisers to disclose their donors. They also want to block powerful entities from making political contributions, like large state government contractors and utility companies. The group plans to take its language to the State Board of Canvassers for approval this month. And their efforts leave us with some questions. What would having more transparency and less corporate money mean in our politics? Would it change who runs in our elections? Would it make our system fairer? To discuss these things, we have Sean McBrearty here. He's the vice chair of Michiganders for Money Out of Politics and the Michigan director for Clean Water Action. Sean, welcome to the Metro.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I really appreciate you having me here today.
And just a note, the Metro has contacted several corporations that are some of the biggest contributors to our state politics, including DTE, Consumers Energy, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. We'll discuss all of their perspectives later in the conversation, and we should note DTE Energy and Consumers Energy are underwriters of WDET. Now, Sean, this organization was born out of the Taking Back Our Power coalition, and that included a number of Democrats in the state legislature who wanted to get money out of politics. That initiative didn't exactly pan out. Why?
Yeah, so the Taking Back Our Power coalition is a coalition really of community groups across the state of Michigan, including some of our Detroit partners like Detroit Action, Michigan United, us at Clean Water Action, Voters Not Politicians, Moses, which does faith-based organizing, lots of other groups, and it
was a big coalition.
It was, yeah, it is. We're doing something new now, but Taking Back Our Power sought to do what we're doing at the ballot through the legislature, and we were glad to get the support of several lawmakers. We actually did have this be a bipartisan package, especially this term. Our two lead sponsors were Representative Dylan Wagela, a Democratic Socialist from here in the Metro Detroit region, and Representative Jim DeSana, a Republican member of the House Freedom Caucus. So what we really have here with money in politics in Michigan is a bipartisan problem that requires a nonpartisan solution. Through two terms of working to get this done in the legislature, what we saw was a lot of people admitting, hey, this is a great idea, and saying, no, of course we can't do anything about it. When we had a Democratic trifecta, these bills were introduced and sent promptly to government operations, which we call in Lansing the committee where good legislation goes to die. With Speaker Matt Hall, we've fared no differently. Those bills are sitting in government operations. Despite, I should say, widespread popularity across the state, people in Michigan really get it that we can't have corporations, especially corporations like DTE, Consumers, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and other entities that rely on their relationship with state government for a majority of their profits, to then be contributing in state politics in such in such a large matter that they're able to actually buy out the system.
How big of an impact do you think say, DTE and Consumers Energy and Blue Cross are having on our politics right now?
They are having a very big impact on our politics. If you go back to 2022, out of 148 state house representatives and state senators in Lansing, 138 of them received contributions from DTE. When you look at the energy policy passed in 2023 under the Democratic trifecta, you have an energy policy that was opposed by several groups in the environmental justice community, that wound up being opposed by Clean Water Action, that was opposed by several folks on the right wing, perhaps for different reasons, and written and supported by groups like DTE. So we see that influence in policy making as well as in campaign funding.
So in my previous conversation, we were just discussing how a clean energy future for Michigan is feeling a little hopeless. So do you feel that would change if we were to get dark money out of politics in Michigan? Do you see that being directly related, that if we're able to get that kind of big corporate influence out of Michigan politics, that could open the door to a clean energy future in Michigan that so far it has not been able to grasp?
I think this would open the door not only to a clean energy future, but to more reliable and more affordable energy. Right now, community solar, for instance, having actual third-party community-run solar that benefits our communities is something strongly supported by Democrats, by Republicans, both regular folks and lawmakers. Somehow, no matter who's in leadership, it doesn't pass. It's opposed, of course, by the incumbent utilities like DTE and Consumers Energy. It is actually, cheaper for DTE to buy political power in Lansing than it is for them to fix and update their grid or to be held accountable by an independent legislature. And these types of contributions that we see from these companies really put corporate contributors and campaign funders in the driver's seat and leave constituents out in the cold. Across Michigan, whether you're here in the Detroit metro area or on the west side of the state in the Upper Peninsula, we've all seen increased power outages. We've all seen our rates rising every year. Michigan has some of the most unaffordable energy rates in the Midwest and some of the worst service. It's time that we rein those companies in and hold them accountable. And the only way we can do that is by making sure that they are no longer allowed to buy our political process.
This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guest is Sean McBrearty. He's the vice chair of Michiganders for Money Out of Politics and the Michigan director for Clean Water Action. We're discussing a new proposal his organization is trying to ultimately get on the state ballot that would curb corporate political influence through the state legislature. Now, something I'm wondering, Sean, why did the language of the initiative specifically target state utilities and not other big corporations like, say, Ford or GM, who also donate to political campaigns and have a big influence on our politics?
Well, the United States Supreme Court has ruled in the Citizens United versus FEC decision that essentially corporations are people and money is speech. And therefore, you can't have a blanket ban on corporate money in politics. And so what we've done with this language that we put together is to do take what we think are some of the best things that have been done in other states and at the federal level, things that are legally permissible with the current legal structures that we have, and things that we think are going to change the system. It just so happens that these monopoly utilities and major government contractors are some of the largest contributors as well in Michigan politics. And so we can legally stop them from contributing. A blanket ban on corporate contributions likely would not hold up once it's challenged in federal court.
I want to now, I mean, clearly this has been quite a well thought out move here, and you feel that bringing it to the voters is what is going to be most effective. I do want to consider some of the comments that have come in about it, though, those that have been critical. The Michigan Chamber of Commerce says the proposal is, quote, egregious and attempts to, quote, silence the voices of job providers and limit free speech. What do you make of the perspective that this proposal is limiting free speech?
I'm not surprised that one of the largest lobbying groups that represents these entities that we, the people, need to start being able to regulate is coming out with all sorts of language attacking our proposal. But what we're counting on with the ballot initiative, Michiganders for Money Out of Politics, is the fact that Michiganders aren't stupid. People know when they're being had. People know when corporations are in the driver's seat and constituents are being left at the curb. And so we're taking it directly to the people. The chamber has all the free speech and lots of money to back that free speech with, to say what they want, but they don't represent average Michiganders, and that's who is going to pass this at the ballot.
I also want to bring in DTE Energy's perspective. We reached out to the utility. It said that it complies with the law, that it's a, quote, responsible corporate citizen, and that DTE makes contributions with money that doesn't come from its customers' wallets. We also contacted Blue Cross Blue Shield and Consumers Energy, and they both said something similar. Why isn't that enough? Why should they not be allowed to donate to state politicians if they aren't using their customers' dollars to do it?
Well, I fully agree with DTE's position there that they are not currently breaking the law, and that in itself is the problem. Michigan constantly ranks as one of the worst states for government ethics and transparency. We're working to reform that law. We're not accusing them of breaking the law right now. As far as not using ratepayer money, which I've heard this argument a couple times, now whether or not the money they're using directly comes from ratepayers doesn't matter. The genesis of all of their money is ratepayer money. So whether this is capitalized funds, which are made off of ratepayer dollars, or direct ratepayer dollars, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Both consumers and DTE have seen record profits in the last few years. Their CEOs have seen record paychecks, and Michiganders have paid the price through our bills and through the lack of reliability and service.
You're making a compelling argument here, Sean, and I'm sure there are people listening saying, what is next? So you're going to the State Board of Canvassers soon to get this on the 2026 ballot. Do you anticipate any problems there?
Well, so the charge of the State Board of Canvassers is, of course, to certify that our petitions are to the form that they're supposed to be in compliance with state law, and to approve a 100-word summary of what we're trying to do. We think that should be a pretty straightforward process, and we're excited to engage with the board. And, I just really want to make a plug for our audience in Detroit here today that this evening folks can actually come out to the Edison Branch Library at 6 p.m. and myself and Christy McGillivray, the director of Voters Not Politicians, are hosting a town hall for folks to hear more about this ballot initiative and find out how to get involved, because we're going to need everybody across the state, all the regular people who want their voices to be heard in the system, to get involved and collect signatures and vote to make this happen.
In the last 20 seconds that we have here, how much do you think that this initiative could really change the landscape of Michigan politics? And I guess one thing I'm thinking of is the candidates who run for office even.
I think long-term observers that I've talked to have said that this would be a sea change in Michigan politics. And I strongly agree with that. And I think it'll enable more folks who want to actually represent the people to run for office. We have a lot of those. I'm not trying to demean current office holders. We have a problem in the system that we're working to fix. And, I'm just really excited to work with people across the state over the next year and a half to get this done.
Sean McBrearty is the vice chair of Michiganders for Money Out of Politics and the Michigan director for Clean Water Action. Sean, thanks so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you so much for having me. Folks can visit mopupmichigan.org to sign up to volunteer.
And a note of disclosure, DTE Energy and Consumers Energy are financial supporters of WDET. Coming up on the Metro, a state lawmaker says ICE has detained a group of local refugees who entered the country legally. Now, Representative Mysong is trying to get answers. We'll hear from her next here on the Metro. Stay with us.